How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode will be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, Solar Flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup, and I am back again with my co-host for another episode of the Assassin's Creed Lorecast.
Yeah, hey, I'm Austin, also known as Teacup, and I'm excited to be here for this episode.
Yeah, so we are continuing our season 5, which is everything you need to know about blank. So, Austin, why don't you just tell us what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so we're talking about Pieces of Eden. Now, this is a general overview. And I just want to preface this by talking about in the actual games, we change from Piece of Eden to Pieces of Eden. So originally it was there is this piece of Eden. And it's this one thing that everyone's looking for. It's called a Piece of Eden. And then it got developed in Assassin's Creed 2 and broadened to where we got Pieces of Eden. So if people refer to the Piece of Eden or the Pieces of Eden, they're really talking about this broad category of Isu technology. We are not going to dive into what specific Pieces of Eden do. I'm not going to lay out what every single thing does because we did that already. We did that in a season of different episodes. There were ones we didn't talk about, but there's a lot that we just don't know a lot about. I might go back and revisit some of the lesser known ones, but that will be late to see. This is more of an overview of the items themselves, of like what they can do. And so in the first half before the mid break, I'm going to be given some general knowledge about them. And then I have some discussion questions kind of related to how Pieces of Eden work in the lore, where Ubisoft might be going with this. So look forward to that after the middle of the show, of just some kind of more theorizing and discussion based stuff with that. So for the most part, Pieces of Eden can be divided into what I call 5 categories. Now, these are not exhaustive lists. There are things that can move in different categories depending on how you want to use them. There are different things that I haven't mentioned that could go into any category. These are just broad categories that I have assigned. So the first one are obviously our means of control, which are the first pieces of Eden that we are introduced to. They are means that the Isu use to control humanity, and by which in the games the Templars or whoever are using as means to control people again. And so obviously these are our apples. Apples of Eden are used to mind control and do whatever, along with staves of Eden. And then the Atlantis artifacts, which the Atlantis artifacts look like apples of Eden, but they are technically a different category in all bid together. I've heard various different different theories, like maybe they're the seeds of Eden, so they're not quite apples, but they're different. They have different properties and they behave differently, but they look like apples of Eden. The next category is our weapons, which the prominent ones we've seen are swords, spears, daggers, bows. We get all these in the games. We especially in Odyssey or the RPG trilogy, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. There are lots of Isu weapons that we get. There's an Isu version of every weapon type in these games. And so with that, there's also with those, we get various armors. This is where I would throw in like various armor sets that we can get throughout Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla, Origins, other things like that, Mirage too. The Rings of Eden, which we've only really seen in game once in Assassin's Creed 3, but they create a basic shield, helmets like Hades helmets, and I would classify the shrouds in this, even though you could put the shrouds over into a different category and other things like that. And then we've got structures. And so the structures are like the observatory, the Leofail, the Eye, Yggdrasil, all these things, these big structures that are huge pieces of machinery. They are technically pieces of Eden because they are leftover Isu technology, but they're really like so beyond what other pieces of Eden can do. Like the whole concept of the world tree is so beyond anything an apple or staff can do, but they're technically pieces of Eden. And then we have these other ones that are really just standalone on their own, which is like the pyramid from Odyssey that like shows these weird visions. We've got the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which could be a weapon, but it's more than a weapon. It's not just a weapon. And then the memory seals, which we obviously experience in reliving those memories. Do you have any thoughts?
I think the thing that's so interesting to me is the sheer diversity in this. I mean, obviously we know about apples. That's like the basic introductory one that we get introduced to first. But since then it's expanded so much. And even, I mean, not all of this is new stuff too. Like some of this stuff goes way back. The Koh-i-Noor, the observatory, like these things go back to the early games too. And so I think that that's interesting that they are so diverse and span over so much time in the games. But I think for me, it's interesting to me what they might do in the future. Like there are so many ways that this could be taken, you know, like just also looking at the way that Assassin's Creed, the developers love to make people into Templars, make people in history into assassins. It would be really interesting if they made different technological advancements by humanity into leftover Isu technology. like electricity, like the invention of the refrigerator. Just there are so many inventions by humanity that they absolutely could attribute to the Isu as another piece of Eden. And so I'd be interested in that. Like, example, one thing that is not represented here at all is means of transportation.
Yes, that is correct. We do get some Isu like horses in some of the later games, but I wouldn't even really count that. And then, but another thing that I think is really interesting is we do get some means of that. Like the lunar landing was made possible because of an apple of Eden. And so like different technological advancements we do know are because various people had apples of Eden.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the case, but I'm talking more of like a human discovers this thing and it's actually Isu tech, and then it leads to a bunch of other advancements. I feel like that's a little bit different than just them saying, oh, well, an apple of Eden helped us get to the moon. I feel like that's a little bit different narrative. And so I just think that would be an interesting place to have more exploration.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It would be really interesting to kind of go through, and we'll talk more about. So if you have more theories about where the games are heading, that's one of our discussion questions for later. So keep that in the back of your mind. So a little about the structure of Pieces of Eden. So Pieces of Eden are made of a special metal that obviously we don't have access to. It seems to be a stronger combination of gold and silver. Now, I think that's really interesting because the reason that gold and silver are so valuable is because they're very like malleable metals, meaning that it's easy to form them into different shapes. And so that made them valuable to earlier cultures of like why gold would be valuable. But the Pieces of Eden are seemingly indestructible. It takes huge amounts of force to destroy them without using maybe another piece of Eden. Like you could probably use a sword of Eden to destroy an apple of Eden. But I mean, it takes huge explosions or overloading the piece of Eden with energy to destroy it. Like I'm thinking mainly in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the opening. If you remember, I think you got to that point where you're playing as Evie and they overload a apple of Eden and it blows up. And then this is what I kind of want to talk about is like, who can use a piece of Eden? Like, because obviously we see various people using Pieces of Eden to various different degrees. So all Pieces of Eden can be used by what is categorized as a thinking creature, meaning that a creature who has the means of communicating with words, being self-aware, asking questions or making statements of like, I like this. That seems to be the criteria of what it would take to wield a piece of Eden. Now, we haven't gotten there, like that we know, like, there are some primates who can communicate on a similar level of humanity. Could they use a piece of Eden? Who knows? It's never been shown in game. I have no game evidence to suggest that. But if they showed that, that's what it is. But right now, it seems only humans or Isu can really use Pieces of Eden. It doesn't mean you can use the piece of Eden without consequence. To not be driven mad or severely damaged by the piece of Eden, the human either needs a strong concentration of Isu DNA or an exceptionally strong will. For example, like Rodrigo Borgia does not have Isu DNA, but he has an exceptionally strong will for a human. So he can utilize the piece of Eden without going mad. Ezio has a strong case of Isu DNA, which not only means that he can use Pieces of Eden, but as my next point, he can resist Pieces of Eden. So, and this is, I want to talk about this, especially with our last episode, 2 episodes ago, talking about Templar philosophy and the Order of Ancients, and why the Order of Ancients views the Tainted Ones as such a danger. As Isu begin to have physical relationships with humans, they produce these Isu hybrids. they pass down a trait that allows them to resist the mental manipulation of pieces of Eden. Now, this means that they cannot be controlled by pieces of Eden. And we see this especially because in his final moments with Al-Mualim, Altair asks, like, why did you never try to control me? Why did you never, like, do whatever? And he said, I did try. All those times I was showing you the apple of Eden, I was trying to control you and you resisted. And so it's even to effect of like Altair can't even sense the apple being used on him because he's so resistant to that.
You know, it is kind of a weakness. I've never thought about it this way, and I don't really particularly remember this conversation between Altair and Al-Mualim, but it is definitely a weakness if they can't even, those with high Isu DNA can't even sense when one is being used. They're very susceptible to manipulation in that way.
Yes, they don't, because he doesn't see Al-Mualim for what he is. It's unclear in the lore whether they can tell that. I think it's because there's a recording that Warren Vidic gets of this person who's basically like, I saw what you all tried to do. I'm going to report all of you. Like, I saw what you tried to do with that light and control people with their first attempt at the satellite. So it's unclear in the lore. I think that this might just be a writing oversight in that they left that in there because they wanted the reveal. They didn't want to tip their hand too early with the reveal of Al-Mualim being a traitor.
Yeah, or it could just be something that developed later on in the lore.
Mm-hmm. Right. But this is why the Order of Ancients views the Tainted Ones as such big threats. They pose it under the guise of they pose danger to society and sow destruction wherever they go. But really, it's because they can't be controlled and they're a threat to the Isu masters, versus when the Templars roll around, the Isu hybrids are a threat to their power. And so they either want to get them on their side or eliminate them entirely.
And I do think it makes sense, like in terms of the philosophy of it all, that change makes absolute sense, because it makes sense that the Templars would want them on their side rather than eradicating them.
Especially when because they hold great power. And because Eve is an Isu hybrid and she starts doing that, that's why the human rebellion is as powerful as it can be, is because these hybrids who are leading it are resistant to apples of Eden. And so it gives them, imagine that, like, you view yourself as invincible and then out of nowhere, suddenly you're not. And so this takes the Isu by huge surprise and gives the human rebellion a big advantage. Now, it doesn't take long for the Isu to counter back with superior technology to push humans to the end of extinction. I think humans would have been wiped out if it had not been for the Great Catastrophe distracting the Isu's attention.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
But with that, this would be a good time for our mid-break, and then we can get into kind of the discussion questions I wanted to throw out.
All right, well, let's get into it.
Want to live better?
We got a lot of work to do.
Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
I'm sure you can put this to better use than I can.
What's this, Greenie? Assassin Christmas?
I needs to be oiled before I goes to the games.
Well, I would have been happy to assist if you were in any state to compete.
I likes to be oiled.
Well, that's obvious.
Okay, so the first thing we have to talk about in the middle of the show is our patrons. Thank you all so much to anybody who supports us. We're so thankful for all of your patronage and your support. And we do have one patron that we shout out every single week on the podcast because they are a mentor tier assassin. And that is our patron Voss. Thank you so much for all of your support. And you too can join the Patreon, get your name read out on the show, and even come on the show at certain tiers. So click that link in our bio to support us in that way, because it's the best way to support us and make sure we keep doing the show. Now, if you can't support us financially via Patreon, we get it, but there are other ways that you can support the show, like liking, sharing, telling your friends about us, and leaving ratings and reviews. And if you do leave a 5-star review, some kind words, etc., we will read it out on a future episode of the show. And so I have one to read today from someone named N, who commented on the Assassin's Creed Mirage patron chat and said, "The new logo of the Lorecast is great. Love it. Thank you so much for that awesome review. I know it's been a hot minute since we changed the logo back in the fall of last year. But yeah, it is a new logo and we really do like it. And thanks so much for commenting that. And the next thing I have to tell you about is our Discord server. We have a lot of fun, talk about all kinds of different games. So come hang out with us over there. And we also have a merch shop where you can get all your favorite kinds of Assassin's Creed merch from us. All you have to do is go to cupspodcasting.com, click the merch link, or you can click the link in our description for this episode and go shopping. And then lastly, Austin put in the show notes, are you ever going to play Assassin's Creed Syndicate again? LOL. Yes, I am. We've just been really busy in our personal lives lately. I am an avid gardener. And so, we moved last summer and at the end of last summer, rather. And so I'm like getting our garden set up. And it's been kind of a lot and it's going to be kind of a lot for a while. And so that's just what I've been focused on. I truly have not even had much free time to do fun things, much less video games. Not that video games aren't fun, but that's usually something I do when I'm stuck in the house. I don't have anything else to do. So, yes is the answer. It just may be a little bit. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if you have thoughts that you wanted to share, Austin.
Nah, I know you'll get to it.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have for the middle of the show then.
All right.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Cadillac. Cadillac certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Cadillac.com/service to learn more.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at jif.com.
Malaka. A party? I wasn't invited. Neither were the horses. I'm sure she just misplaced my invitation. Stuck.
See if you can find something to pry it open. Honor? What are you up to? No, don't do that. There's no way of knowing what's on the other side.
So let's get back into this, these kind of discussions. The first is I want to preface this that a lot of this is going to be theorizing. I know this is a lore cast, but I just wanted to preface that like these are our theories, different theories I'm going to throw out there. I'm not saying this is what the lore is or this is what is happening. I'm just presenting some thoughts or observations that I make. So there are a lot of pieces of Eden that exist that greatly benefit humanity, but don't really give that much more power to the Isu. Like the swords of Eden. Like, yeah, the Isu gain a like powerful blast, but like when used by a human, the swords grant influence and leadership and can inspire their soldiers to fight for them and fight longer and fight harder. Like there are a lot of them that give bigger benefits to humans or Isu hybrids. And like thinking about even the Spear of Leonidas, of the abilities that it grants to Cassandra are hugely beneficial. And so there's really two makers of pieces of Eden, and that's Hephaestus and Consus, and then Hermes as well. And there's others here and there, but those are the main three. Hephaestus is a little unknown of what he means, but Consus is an ally of humanity. The way he presents himself in the lore and later in post-catastrophe, he is an ally of humanity. So my theory is, and I want to know, Shelby, if you think this could be a place where, you know, maybe this is really a thing. I think that Consus creates pieces of Eden to aid humanity solely. Like he creates them so that humanity can resist the Isu. Like the Swords of Eden, like the Shroud of Eden, which can heal any wound for an Isu who doesn't think that they're going to ever like be killed or be hurt by their slaves or even by each other. Why would they need a shroud?
So I just have something to say, but I don't remember who this character is. Isn't there a character that comes to Ravensthorpe in Valhalla who creates like mythical things? I thought those were pieces of Eden. Or am I just completely wrong?
Mythical things.
Like mythical like weapons and stuff. He's like down by the docks. He's a dwarf, I think, maybe. Maybe not.
You're thinking of in the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC.
No. He's in the base game, but he may be a DLC ad.
Well, there are no dwarfs in the base game.
Okay, well then maybe he's not a dwarf. But he's like a person in Valhalla who comes to Ravensthorpe, and you can go to him and get him to create different mythical items. Like mythical, like tier items, like that are really, really good or whatever.
Yeah, that's in the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC.
But he comes to Ravensthorpe.
I can't remember if he comes to... I'd have to load up my playthrough.
100%. I know for a fact this person comes to Ravensthorpe and he has a little camp that you can open.
Are you thinking of Rada, the kid who sells gear?
No. This is a man. This is a man.
The only way to get mythical tier items or things upgraded to mythical tier is if you buy them from the store directly or you upgrade them in the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC.
No, I know this is a person. I'm not crazy.
There is a dwarf blacksmith who does this in the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC.
I just thought that there was part of it in. Okay, maybe I don't know. But would this not be a person who creates pieces of Eden?
No, because it's just
okay,
like managing them.
Okay. Anyway, back to your original question, which was, are pieces of Eden created in order to assist humans in the Isu humanity war? I think that's a very plausible theory. However, I could also see the explanation of these pieces of Eden having been created in a prior war, like the Isu Civil War, where they're fighting against each other, and the Isu tech people created them for their side. I could very much see that also being the case.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. I just think that like there's so many Isu like that I feel like fall into two camps, whether they're like pro-humanity, like let's see where humanity evolves to and see what goes at, and then there's anti-humanity people like Juno who are like, nah, they're a danger to us, they're a danger to themselves, let's control them and wipe them out.
Yeah, but I just don't think that I still think that these pieces of Eden, I don't necessarily think that they were created, or at least all of them were created with humans in mind at all. I think the possibility that they could have been created to assist the Isu, and then their effects on humanity is just a byproduct. I still think that that's really likely.
Yes. Well, we know that apples were created with humanity in mind because they are created solely to control humanity.
Yes. I mean about the ones that are like not quite as volatile, not quite as attacking. Right. Not quite as like weapon centered.
So another thing is in the Assassin's Creed universe, like pieces of Eden are very much established in connection to religious and biblical stories, particularly in regards to miracles, like the works of Buddha are done because of a piece of Eden. Even like the influence of Gandhi is done because he has an apple of Eden. And, the miracles of Jesus, the miracles of the Bible are done through the uses of pieces of Eden. And I just don't think, I personally take the stance that this is not great storytelling. In that it just kind of like, it takes me out of the immersion of the world a little bit, because like we would write off so much of that as conspiracy theory as humans, which Assassin's Creed is built on the idea of a conspiracy theory. But
and I do think that they're kind of playing off of the conspiracy theory part of it a little bit. But I do hear what you're saying, that it is not necessarily the best storytelling. I go back and forth on it, because at one level, like, I personally don't mind. But I do think that it's risky. Because we know people on the internet love to make a mob, love to, get outraged over things. Everything is outrage bait these days, it seems. So to me, it's really risky that they would do something like that. And I think it makes sense that they would be stepping away from that kind of narrative, which they have been. They haven't really done that kind of storytelling in a while, at least with like more modern day religions. Like, yes, we can talk about the Norse and the Egyptian gods, but those are like not the dominant religions of the world anymore. And so like, I don't think that they're going to take stories from Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam. I don't think they're going to take those religions and try to implement them in any way. I think that that's something they did way back when. in the first few games. I think that they themselves are trying to distance themselves from that just due to any possible controversy. But I've said this before on the podcast, and I know we've had this conversation on the podcast before, but I think that it is risky because people love to be mad about lots of things these days. So I just think that it's risky. And I do agree with you that it is a little bit of cheap storytelling.
And I like the idea of, taking historical human figures and say, oh, they rose to power because of these pieces of Eden, like US presidents and European dictators and other dictators across the world. Like, hey, look at this, like, Genghis Khan wielding a sword of Eden, even, Joan of Arc wielding a sword of Eden to inspire and do other things like that. Like, I think that is more interesting to me than like, oh, Moses actually parted the Red Sea with a staff of Eden, not really a staff of gods.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense because generally, like, figures in history, we can connect to them more than just some myth that's been passed around for hundreds of years.
So my next question, these next two things are about future games and less about the use of Piece of Eden in the games that we have. And I said, do you think Ubisoft is intentionally moving away from the chasing for a piece of Eden storyline that they have been using in the previous games? Because we're not really since the Desmond saga ended, it's not this like race for the piece of Eden anymore in the storytelling.
Well, I mean, it kind of isn't, like, because in Valhalla, they are kind of racing to the world tree there at the end. I don't know. And I don't know if I even have an answer to this question because I just feel like so much in the games is different now. That it has different. It just feels like it has a different focus to me. And it feels like the plot stakes tend to be bigger than just one singular piece of Eden. Like, it feels much more like world defining, which to me, going back to the question, like that can't be sustainable in the long run. Like, there has to be an end. Like, things can't just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger with more and more and more stakes forever indefinitely. Like, there has to be a cutoff. And to me, it feels like we're near it given Valhalla, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that, and this kind of goes up into like where I'm going to lead into my next question, but like ever since the death of Charlotte de la Cruz, the Templars have been tragically missing from the modern day story. Like in Odyssey, Valhalla, in the modern day story, they're almost non-existent. Like, yeah, we get a confrontation with Otto Berg at the end of Valhalla, but of Odyssey. But even when he comes and confronts Layla, he's not after the staff. He's after Layla. Like, he wants to bring her in against the assassins. And so with this, I think the Templars are less focused. The way they're presenting it, or the Templars are less focused on pieces of Eden and more about consolidating what power they have left and the hit that they took after 2012. And it's interesting to me how that is presenting itself. And especially the absence of Templars in Odyssey and Valhalla altogether, and even the RPG trilogy as a whole. I wonder if there's going to be a big Templar plot drop soon in modern day story of like, oh, they've been working on this huge thing. We've had no idea, and it's gonna be bad.
I mean, it's definitely possible. However, my thought is I just kind of feel like the modern day storyline in general has been lacking for a while, ever since Desmond died, sure, but especially ever since Origins. So I don't even think Ubisoft knows where they want to go.
I mean, I do think that the games will be better if we can get an investment into the modern day story, which I think that like how Valhalla ends is this idea of like there's another catastrophe coming in and we've got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what is going to happen here. I'm a little worried that Ubisoft has forgotten that there are modern day Templars that are still moving around and causing problems.
And I don't even necessarily think they've forgotten, but I do agree with you. I think that they, because they don't know what to do with the modern day storyline since Desmond's death, I feel like they don't know what to do themselves. And so they're just de-emphasizing the modern day storyline, which I think is a disservice to the Assassin's Creed universe, which again, we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast before. But yeah, I don't think they've forgotten. I think they genuinely don't know what to do.
Right. And Basim does say at the end of Assassin's Creed Valhalla that he is ready to take the fight to the Templars. And so
True.
Maybe something is coming, but who knows? But I think that's all the time we have for today. That's all I got. As far as discussion, do you have any last thoughts on Pieces of Eden? This was just more of a general reminder and overview. Again, if you want more on individual Pieces of Eden, we've got those episodes and they're pretty thorough and in depth. So you can go and look at those.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just one quick question that I have. And I'm sure we'll probably do an everything you need to know about the Isu episode, but I feel like this may fit better here. What the heck is up with sages?
So
are they considered? I mean, I'm sure they're not considered Pieces of Eden, but like, are they extensions? Like, I need more information about the sage situation.
they're considered hybrids, same consideration as hybrids, because they are emerging between human and Isu together.
But they're more than that, though. Like,
yes, they are more than that, but they are considered classified as hybrids.
Well, that's interesting. We should probably have an episode about them, just like standalone.
It's coming. Someone is not reading the master list.
I'm sorry.
It will happen. It is the next episode.
Okay, well, I jumped the gun on that one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't hold it against me.
Right. Which remind us, shall we, before we wrap up, do you want to tell our listeners about next week?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So we are taking a break next week. This episode releases on March 28th. Yes, March 28th. So we will not have an episode releasing on April 4th. Austin has a really big time at work, so we're just skipping this week. But we'll be back the second week of April. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. But thank you, Austin, for bringing all this research. Definitely an important and interesting topic to review. So thanks for bringing that in the discussion. And thank you all for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
When a wasteland detective and a vault girl cross paths, no criminal is safe.
You're both under arrest.
Don't move a muscle if you know what's good for you.
Based in Bethesda's Fallout series, follow Walter and Bunny as they traverse the Texas Commonwealth and New Vegas, busting big crime rings.
We'll need all we can to expand into Vegas territory.
And surviving anything the wasteland can throw at them.
It's him! It's the Mothman!
Featuring a series of nail-biting narratives and guest stars from across the Fallout community. It's anybody's guess what thrilling case is up next.
War never changes, does it, Bunny?
No, it certainly does not.
True Vault Escapades, a Fallout audio drama. Available anywhere you get podcasts.